What do I think of the wounded inner child? All right, so most of us, if not all of us, have been improperly parented in some way, shape, or form because there's no perfect parent. And you're just learning as you go along. If you were like the first kid, the oldest, like myself and my parents, they're both, firstborns and all that stuff. You get treated a certain way because you're expected to be the leader, you're expected to be the oldest and be responsible for other people and all that stuff to help out your parents and all that stuff. Like if you have younger siblings, and a lot of times a lot of your needs can be overshadowed sometimes, and when that happens, especially if your parents are emotionally unavailable, like some of us had, due to just how they were raised and it's just doing what they were taught. You know what I'm saying? Like mental health is not like something, especially like Black community, it's not something that was talked about, at least not in my home growing up. You know what I mean? So it's like to be able to understand these things and wonder why things happen. It makes total sense when you break these things down. But when you don't have that emotional available type of parenting, you tend to have to suppress shit, and you're told to man up, woman up, toughen up, and you just suppress how you feel about something. And when that happens, there's a part of you that gets wounded, but instead of healing, you suppress it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you push it down and you don't address these things that happen to you. And sometimes you just forget about it. You want to forget about it. Some things that can just be so traumatic that it draws you to the point where you do not want to ever go through that experience again, and you will remove anything that reminds you of it. So, what do I think of the wounded inner child? I think the wounded inner child is like parts of you that were really scarred, and when certain things happen, it brings you back to that fucking moment. And you become that scared 6-year-old, that scared 12-year-old, that scared 14-year-old who saw something just so traumatic, and it fucks with you, and you don't even realize what's going on. And when you don't have like the best support system, you're gonna find a way to make a support system, be it drugs, alcohol, sex, porn, just dopamine in general, like your phone, your cell phone notifications, listening to music, any other ways that you can get dopamine from. And the wounded inner child is something that needs recognition so that you can heal and move on from like not being able to listen to this song because it reminds you of this, or not being able to watch this movie because it reminded you of something that went down like this, or you're not able to walk down this hallway or talk to these people or even talk on the phone. I mean, I'll use my own situation for myself. My wounded inner child is not feeling like it's the fear of abandonment, and I find myself in a position where I fear like people that I love leaving me. I've dealt with that for a little while, and it gives me between me joining the military, leaving for the military, and like not feeling like anyone came to see me and stuff like that. It put me in a position where I had to create this persona, this survival persona, in order for me not to lose my fucking mind. And I lost a lot of what used to be me. And I don't know, I guess I'm still, maybe I don't even want to find that, person anymore, but there's parts of me that really were affected by that scenario of being away from everything that you know and love. And when you leave, you have to, you think that everything stays the same when you leave, and when you come back, you think it's going to stay the same, but it doesn't. Your family gets older. If you got a kid, your kid gets older. Your little brother's no longer little. He becomes a grown man. But in your mind, because you've gone through something so traumatic of joining the military, going to the desert, developing PTSD, that And then even this, let's go with childhood PTSD for that matter. This wounded inner child is just crying to be loved. So you're just reaching out for somebody to come and get you. Like when you get scared, like anytime a child gets scared, they look to their, their parents and their loved ones in order to heal them. But if you don't have that, sometimes you're just stuck, and it can get very lonely. It can get very depressing. Sometimes it can create tremendous amounts of anxiety inside you. And you have to figure out, like, okay, how am I going to get through this? But this is the beauty of it, right? It's only the wounded inner child that makes you feel like you need somebody to get through. But everything you need in order to get through is inside you. As some have said before, you're not incomplete, you're not broken. You have the tools inside you to self-soothe. And when you're babies, they have the same ability, but a lot of us were coddled. At least for me, I was fucking coddled. I was spoiled as a kid, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that I felt entitled to, but I didn't. But at the same time, being entitled, I also had a family that was emotionally unavailable at the time, didn't know how to express themselves. So another aspect of the wounded inner child is not knowing how to manage your emotions and not know how to communicate those emotions. That's what the wounded inner child is. Another thing, like if you have those friends where you ask them how they're doing, you clearly see something's wrong with them, and then they get on the defense, it is possibly that wounded inner child for feeling like, from times where they wanted to share how they felt, but they were told that they couldn't because they were made to feel like their feelings didn't matter. So they just, you just find yourself trapped into your own world. No one gives a fuck. And then you just suppress it and you just figure out a way to deal with that. But those feelings are still there and you don't know how to manage them. I would attest that to the wounded inner child. Now, how do you heal the wounded inner child? You got to go back to those times. You don't dwell on the past. You learn from it. You look at that person and what would you do if, like, with your adult sense, talking to the child, like if it was your child, but it's yourself, but if that was your child in that predicament, how would you have handled that? You got to go back and hug that inner child inside your mind. And it's a struggle. It really is. It really is a struggle that one must go through, but it's necessary in order to, see what's on the other side. And you have to face fear. And fear is a motherfucker, because when something traumatic happens, our bodies naturally don't want that to happen again. And chances are it probably won't, but that's what fear is. Fear of ghosts. We're afraid of ghosts, things that may not even happen. They say that we tend to suffer more from imagination than reality. And I believe that. I truly do believe that. So with the wounded inner child, find out what yours is, you know what I'm saying? Find out exactly what's inside you that has you just, you just get this sense of anxiety. Your nervous system gets a certain way when you get around certain people, or you doing certain things, like if you got a fear of heights or something like that. Who knows where it comes from? But everything comes from something. It usually dates back to childhood. So, that's what I feel like the wounded inner child is, and hopefully we all can heal our wounded inner child so that we can have better relationships and better experiences in our lives before we leave this earth and go on to the next life, whatever that is. How to know when somebody truly makes you a priority instead of an option? It's a very good question. Okay, and this is just my perspective on this whole thing. When somebody makes you a priority versus an option, you start to you recognize them going out of their way doing certain things for you, or to show you how much they care. And I mean, and it doesn't mean like if a person doesn't go out of their way to do something that they don't care for you. But this is just my perspective on the whole thing. And yeah, when you make somebody a priority, there's a part of you that just those feelings. You find. I mean, anything you want to do, you'll make time to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like the kid that has homework, but he just got the new video game. That little nigga's gonna find a way to play that fucking video game, if he really wants to play that game. But that's just how our brain works, you know what I'm saying? Like whatever we really want to do, like the reward system, we're addicted to dopamine. And if that person gives you this hit of dopamine, this strong sense of dopamine, you will become the priority. And that's the thing, you know what I'm saying? If you really want to be a priority, find a way to create that type of dopamine in that person's life. How do you stimulate a person is the question. Mentally, can you stimulate a person mentally? Can you stimulate a person at all, for that matter? Being an option, you just might, when you're an option, you just, fall to the wayside. And sometimes, maybe sometimes they pick up their phone, maybe sometimes they text you, whatever. But then again, there's so many different perspectives, because people deal with personal shit where they probably made people, they were people pleasers for one point in time. I use myself as an example where, at one point in time, you put everybody on a goddamn pedestal and you wanted to people please just to prove that, because your ego needed that validation to show that you're worthy of being human and alive on this earth. But now you take time to yourself and just work on you, and you prioritize you. That's the one person that you need to make a fucking priority, is yourself. You don't make yourself an option. You make yourself a fucking priority. You have to love yourself and be in a relationship with yourself. It's weird if you've never done it before, but to be in a relationship and do everything that you would do for this particular friend in your life, you do it for yourself. And you create that relationship to where you're okay being alone. When you don't have text messages coming, you don't have phone calls, you're not on social media, it's just you in silence. How are you going to react? You have to make yourself a priority and be able to take care of yourself and just be okay with being alone. And I'm somewhat got off track, but the point is about being a priority. So the difference between a priority and an option is effort. Everything is effort. You know what I'm saying? When you make something a priority, you practice effort and you practice discipline. So you got to have the discipline to make sure that you make this effort to do this particular thing. And I think that's how I would look at it, as the difference between a priority and an option. Circa 2003, graduating class. Graduating, my life in no way, shape, or form turned out how I thought it was going to be. Because, be all honest with you, I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do with my life. You know what I mean? I was just trying to make it through. I was on survival brain. Looking back at a lot of shit, I was on autopilot on a lot of shit, like learning like mental health. I just wanted to make my parents proud. That's really all it was, whatever it was. But I was still doing sneaky shit. So I would sneak women in, not women, but girls. I would sneak girls in the house. One in particular got pregnant. So my life changed forever, and for the better in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Like it took me on this journey, and it took a long time, man. It took a long time for me to understand it. Like, I didn't fully, it took me a while to grow up. Like, I'm fucking 35. And it literally took me about 34. I want to say about 34 for me to realize, like, you really gotta grow the fuck up. and you got to see things differently. Not everybody's out to hurt you. You have to stop living in fear. You have a survival brain. You've been wired to go towards people that are emotionally unavailable, who are untrustworthy, and that you keep running to people where you can just go to yourself for that validation that you're looking for, and love yourself, and that you are strong enough to do that. Because we tend to get in a position where we get scared and we feel like we're not lovable. So we go through this validation thing with our ego, and we turn to people that we feel that will validate this ego, that I am somebody. You'll put them on a pedestal, and if you can get them, then I'm somebody. But you always somebody. You already were. Before you even opened your mouth, before you sent that text message, before you sent that friend request, before you swipe right on fucking Twinder, fucking Tinder, before you did anything, or, before you made that move, you know what I mean? Like, you are worthy. You need to understand that, and that nobody, not a damn soul is put on a pedestal. We're all just human. And we all just want to make it. Some people make more effort in things, you know what I'm saying? Some people have a little more knowledge, but they're not better. They just know better, but they're not better than you. And that's just really what it boils down to. But there's some people that really feel like, they're weak people, and they feel the need to look down on others because they feel like they're that much better than them. You know what I'm saying? But life has a way of humbling you, and it's going to happen. By your decision making, that is, you know what I'm saying? Even if you try to strive to make the right decision, something still can happen. So you just have to take life as it is, roll with the change, roll with the changes as life comes. You know what I'm saying? But life itself, after graduation, took a turn. I did not want to leave my family, but I went off to the military. And in the military, I developed PTSD. And with PTSD, from an adult standpoint, being in the military, and then to have PTSD from childhood come together, it makes you a fucking nervous wreck. It brings about suicidal thoughts. It brings about not knowing who to trust in your life, be it family, be it friends, people you've known for a very long time, and you give people one chance, and then when they fuck up, that's it. And then you put yourself on this island because you're not allowed people to make mistakes. But the thing is like, when you've allowed people to make mistakes and it just constantly keeps breaking your you keep allowing them to break your fucking heart by the things that, they do. Keep scratching his goddamn arm, fucking junkie over here, but just itchy and scratchy inside this elbow. I don't hide shit from my fucking fans. And audience and all that shit, you know what I'm saying? But these things happen and they alter your brain. And you really, if you change your mindset, you change your life. Because you can look at something and it can be the very same thing that somebody else looks at, and be a total different view and perspective. And everything is about perspective. It's not about right and wrong in this life, okay? It's all about how you see things. Example. To us, some people over in the Middle East are the enemy. To over in the Middle East, the U.S. is the enemy. And it's all about perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's how you see things. So you have to decide in your life, what are you going to do? Are you going to continuously push everybody away and be on an island, and just not engage with anybody and learn not to trust? I think ultimately we don't trust ourselves, so we don't trust anybody else. Like, however we feel about other people, it's even worse how we feel about ourselves. Like, if I'm not able to forgive, like, that's my issue. Like, the inability to forgive others because my inability to forgive myself for the things I feel like I've done. All the wrongs I feel like I did from childhood on now, and, just a whole bunch of shit. but you got to find it within yourself to forgive yourself. And it takes time. It takes time. You have to wash out a lot of the memories and the movies that play in your head of things that happened in the past. So life after graduation brought about a lot of changes, a lot of things. Me, it made my life come full circle when I realized that the ego had taken over too much. The ego taught me that my life wasn't enough, and I didn't practice enough gratitude because I was very entitled. Like life promised to give me like a family. Doesn't mean a good family, doesn't mean a bad family. Just life gives you a family. And also, life doesn't give you, like, let's say a good, like life gives you a kid. Doesn't mean you're gonna have a good kid, doesn't mean you have a bad kid, it means you're gonna have a kid. And you have to love them unconditionally either way. And same for your sister. Like if you have a sister, life gave you a sister, doesn't mean you're gonna have a good sister or a bad sister, it just means you're gonna have a sister. And you have to love them. Now, granted, you have to protect yourself, for your own mental health, but just take that for what it is, and that gratitude. Sometimes when you get so entitled, you feel like you can just change whatever you want. Like I don't want that anymore. I'm just gonna do this type thing, And you learn how to love a little bit better as you get older. You start to see things for what life is, and realize that people do make mistakes, and maybe there is time for forgiveness, starting with yourself. So, life did not turn out the way I thought it would after graduation, but damn sure glad everything that's happened. I'm trusting God and the universe that these things that are happening are happening for me and not to me. So, yeah. Life after graduation. A fucking adventure.